Hello friends, in this video we'll cover some key topics. Europe is closing its doors, men of conscription age are officially being denied protection, Denmark is issuing an ultimatum, and Germany is demanding that they fight. Why is Kyiv launching the Back Home platform? Why is Trump closing the US? How did France and Italy derail Brussels' new sanctions? We are analyzing the bare facts and hidden interests without censorship. Please like and subscribe to the channel. Huge thanks to everyone who is generous. Simple actions take just 2 seconds. Be sure to drop a like in support of aerodynamics. Friends, this is really important. Now let's get down to business. Part 1. Europe's global shift from welcome to remote military enlistment offices. The most significant systemic development that shapes everything that follows is the official proposal by the European Commission to extend the temporary protection program for Ukrainians. Until March 2028, you think you could just live and be happy, dear Ukrainian, humanism in all its glory. But as they say, the devil is in the details, and these details are quite self-serving, if you'll pardon the expression. European officials, with a simple stroke of the pen, propose to exclude from this program newly arrived individuals who are subject to conscription, that is, men between the ages of 23 and 60. Write in the comments what you think. Is it right that no one should be accepted, that everyone should go to the front, or do people have the right to live? What does this mean in practice, my dear friends? It means the party's over. The European Commissioner for Home Affairs and Migration, Magnus Brunner, states directly and without hesitation, this is what Ukraine asked us for, and this is exactly what we are doing. Do you see what elegant diplomacy this is? On one hand, Europe still seems to be a citadel of human rights. On the other hand, they are carefully starting to act as an outsourced order-taking desk for Ukrainian draft boards. Right away, the German Minister of Justice, Stefanie Hubig, steps in as backup, and during her visit to Kyiv, she also speaks the plain truth. Ukraine cannot afford to become exhausted. It must take care of its own defense capability. Well, these are the kinds of great friends Ukraine has. It's amazing, truly touching, how they care about someone else's defense capability by restricting the rights of specific people. Of course, not their own citizens. Why send our Germans to fight Russians? Let others handle it themselves. And this is being stated in the context of discussions about the rule of law and European values. Here it is, friends, the true essence of international politics. When the system needs to solve tough geopolitical tasks, any kind of abstract freedoms, especially those of some Ukrainians, are instantly reduced to zero. As legendary Hennedy Adolfovich Kernes used to say, Dania, in this regard, decided not to wait for some 2027 or 2028, they're acting ahead of the curve. Copenhagen has already officially announced that it will no longer grant asylum or residence permits to Ukrainian men of conscription age. Where you came from, Luhansk, Ivano-Frankivsk, or elsewhere, doesn't matter. So you've arrived, right? That is, at the level of individual states, a real parade of sovereignties is beginning. Who will be the fastest and toughest to close the border to potential conscripts? Of course, in this barrel of tar, there's a spoonful of formal humanism. Council of Europe Commissioner for Human Rights, Michael Orbital. The flyer position is hesitantly trying to speak up. He's almost meowing, if you'll excuse the phrase. Have mercy, gentlemen. You can't just deprive everyone of protection all at once. You need an individual approach. There are conscientious objectors, for example. The flyer position is clear. He's trying to save the remnants of the face of the European legal system. But who will listen to him when the survival of a huge military machine is at stake? In a severe crisis, bureaucracy always chooses the simplest wholesale solution, not some kind of individual tinkering in someone's conscience. Next, friends, we have the second section. By the way, for your convenience, if you noticed, I added timestamps, so thank me for the work. Yes. The other side of the coin. Kirill Budanov and the rescue platform to Domu. What is the Ukrainian leadership doing in this situation? Here, a magnificent PR campaign is unfolding. Ukraine needs to bring back its citizens and attract foreigners, as the population has grown superstitious and declined significantly over the past 20 years. That's what the legendary Kirill Alexeyevich Budanov said. According to him, the demographic burden on a single worker is already critical. Therefore, it will be necessary to both bring back its own citizens and attract specialists from different parts of the world. Yes, we've already seen Indians in Lviv. As he says, there is no other option. Write in the comments what you think about this. Well, let's move on. The Ministry of Social Policy of Ukraine is officially launching the digital platform Domu. I wonder how much it cost. The implementation, I mean the money. We're told the resource was created for the official government return of Ukrainians. There, they'll draw up a personal return plan for you, tell you about housing, show you job openings, and even provide community contacts. Just look at how they're waiting for you in Cherkasy and Poltava with all that infrastructure. In short, everything is great. But let's use some basic logic, friends, and look at the hard sociology. And it hits all these virtual projects hard. The statistics tell us the following. Among the refugees, the share of those who no longer associate their future with their homeland is growing. Fortunately or unfortunately, it depends on who you ask. Here are the numbers. If you trust them, there are now 31 respondents. But there's also a philosophical question about who you ask and where. 31 respondents say that they will not return under any circumstances, even if, excuse me, the fighting ends on acceptable terms. A year earlier, there were only 13% of such firm non-returnees, and now it's already over 31%. That's almost a threefold increase. And a question arises. Dear bosses, who did you even build this wonderful platform home for? Well, the answer is obvious. When the economy is in ruins, you know why, energy is constantly under attack, and social support is just symbolic, it's simply impossible, in my opinion, to lure people back with a nice website and some community branches. It just doesn't work. But this resource does a great job serving as political cover for those very European measures we mentioned earlier. The European Union will deny protection, saying you already have a great platform and friends. They're waiting for you, you have a whole ministry, and a website is ready for you, so go home, dear friends. Write in the comments, maybe I'm being too skeptical, or maybe next, part 3, the American vector and transatlantic selfishness, so that the picture becomes completely whole. We need to go across the ocean for a minute, because some very telling things are happening there as well. The Deputy Chief of Staff of the White House, Mr. Stephen Miller, says directly that the U.S. under Donald Trump, may his days be long, of course that's sarcasm, will no longer accept foreigners who apply for political asylum. That's it, period. Washington plans to simply redirect such requests to other countries. Deal with these peasants yourselves. This is classic peasant isolationism, isolation in action. Washington has always known how to count its money and resources. Sometimes, of course, it squandered them, according to Trump, but now the question is being raised this way. Why spend the budget on supporting some refugees when you can seal the domestic perimeter and shift all these migration costs, what to do with these guys, onto Europe or third countries? In short, greetings to the entire European security system, because the US is saying directly, guys, deal with this mess yourselves. We have our own situation here, we need to take care of our own business. So this decision puts an end to the illusion that somewhere across the ocean there's a kind uncle who will feed you, take you in, and give you shelter. There is no such uncle there, only tough pragmatists who protect their own domestic market and, of course, care about their electoral balance. So, next we have part 4, friends, the intra-European split, the case of Russian military personnel. Yes, unexpected, the cherry on top of this geopolitical cake. This is great news about how the authorities of Italy and France completely criticized the European Commission's idea to ban entry into the European Union for those Russians who, guess what, fought in Ukraine. They really wanted to push this measure through in the 21st package of sanctions. A package with packages. And then Paris and Rome suddenly adopted a healthy skepticism, like, why should we do this? Because they perfectly understand what kind of logical and legal hell this will lead to. Bloomberg sources say it directly. Italy and France worry this initiative could lead to a total ban on all Russian citizens entering the EU. That's their concern. How can you technically verify at the border if someone fought on the front line or was just working in a factory tightening bolts on a tram at that time? The European Commission suggests that national border services should figure this out themselves. So, can you imagine this circus at passport control in, say, an airport in Rome or Paris? It's not hard. Well, actually, this is an important marker. It shows that major European players are starting to get tired. Of course, they're worn out after 4 years of war. From the endless sanctions obsession of Brussels officials, they see that the laws are starting to stop working. Administering it is becoming absurd. And the real effect is, well, 0.0. It's a clear sign that the once monolithic position of the EU is starting to crack at the seams under the weight of the basic everyday impossibility of carrying out their own directives. A bag of bags, right? Yes, friends, let's draw some conclusions. If we put all these pieces of the puzzle together, we get a very unappealing but entirely predictable picture. We see how the initial romantic idealism toward Ukrainians back in 2022 has been completely exhausted. Europe no longer wants or is able to support that number of people, hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions, free of charge. Moreover, European leaders urgently need the conflict in the east not to die down, because those Ukrainians are running out. What, did you make that up? That's why humanitarian programs are easily turned into a tool for forcing people to return. The US washes its hands of it, closes its doors, demonstrating the absolute pragmatism of a major global player. The Ukrainian leadership is trying to make this forced return look better by introducing digital platforms or something similar. Although real statistics show that people are voting with their feet en masse against these so-called interesting conditions. And inside the EU, there's growing silent irritation because the old legal mechanisms are breaking down, and Brussels' new proposals look like some kind of outright utopian nonsense that can't be implemented in practice. Well, that's the reality, my friends. So when real political interests and military expediency, let's not forget about the war, of course, which is tearing things apart, when all of this clashes with some slogans, the slogans end up in the trash. That's how it is. And apparently this process is only going to get tougher. Well, that's the situation. Write in the comments what you think about this. Are you under temporary protection, or are your documents in order? And are you planning to return to Ukraine or not yet? Interesting. I read all the comments, even the hateful ones. Friends, people have been telling me that recently it seems like gates to hell have opened. About 5% of my viewers are Russians, so I get a lot of trash talk from them. And I'll also tell you this, I have filters for that, like stop words, you know, words that won't let the comment through. Kokol, Jew, Nazi, Ukraine, Ukrainian Banderite, and so on. So I have those words set up there, like Saloreka and so on. So I'll tell you this stuff in the comments, which I actually clean up anyway. Maybe not right away, because I'm not on YouTube 24/7. Well, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Thankfully, no one will see the worst of it. Still, to everyone who made it this far, I wish you good health. Friends, leave likes and write comments if you're on the side of good, of course. That's all for now. Take care of yourselves and your loved ones. Share the city you're watching from. Dennis watched from Lodz, another from Belsk. Greetings to the working class and truck drivers. If you're watching from the shop floor, let us know. You'll also get a personal greeting or a like. So that's all for now. See you next time. By the way, TransferGo is the best for money transfers. The link's in the description. Send money to your loved ones and support them when you can.